Hi everyone. So this video will have a 10 important React.js interview questions. Let us see what are the questions and we will also have the answers for them. So first question is, what is React.js? So if you're searching for any React.js or any front-end interview questions, so this is, as a fresher, if I say, this is the very important question which could be asked to you. This is like the very basic question which can be asked to you. Answer, when we see how you can answer this question, is React is an open source JavaScript library. Okay, so it is a JavaScript library. There are other JavaScript libraries too, like Angular, Vue, but React, like similarly, React is also an open source JavaScript library, and it was developed by Facebook, now currently being maintained by Meta. And you can also mention that it focuses mainly on the view layer of the application. So what do I mean by view layer? View layer is nothing but the presentational layer or the UI, or user interface layer of the application. So for backend, you will have other technologies, maybe Node.js or Java, Spring Boot or Python. So but React will focus on the view layer, right? So it is like front end part, and it is helpful in building the fast and interactive user interface. So what do I mean by fast? Like, what is fast? By fast I mean that what happens in React is you will have different components which you will develop. So it is like you will not write the code again and again. You will write a code in one place, like we do it, like for example functions. We write a function and then we keep reusing that. That is the whole point of writing function, right? Similarly, in React we have components. You write a component and you will be using them across the application, where for example there is a card component, or there is any kind of radio button component or checkbox component or any component. So you will be using the same component again and again at many places, because if you sit and write everything from beginning in every screen, it is going to take time, right? So if you are making use of the same component in multiple screens, so your development time development time decreases. I mean, like, it is faster. So it allows developer to build reusable UI component, and it is efficient for developing single page applications. Okay, so this is the first question. Now let us see the second question. What is second question? Second question is, what are the major features of React, right? Let us see what is answer. Answer is, you can answer it in few points. That major features of React are, it makes use of virtual DOM for performance optimization. So other libraries or other frameworks, they make use of the real DOM, and if there is any change in the UI, then again the page has to re-render, component has to re-render, and page should be repainted. So everything happens using the real DOM, but in React we make use of virtual DOM. So this has a whole concept of what diffing algorithm is, what reconciliation is. Maybe I'll make a separate video on this topic, but just in short, if I have to say, virtual DOM is faster when compared to real DOM, because virtual DOM is a in-memory representation. It is a lightweight representation of our real DOM. So whatever changes are happening, it doesn't happen directly on real DOM, it happens in virtual DOM. So this one point, you can say that React uses virtual DOM for performance optimization. Then second thing which you can say is, it promotes reusable and composable UI components. So you have to make the reusable UI component and then you can reuse it somewhere else. Third point is, JSX allows developers to write HTML like syntax in JS files. So whenever you are writing any of the content in your React, mostly the file name or file syntax is JSX. So it is nothing but, in JS you cannot write any HTML content. Like, JS files were separate and HTML were separate, but in React you can write the HTML like content in JSX file or JS files. So these content will be transformed into the React elements only afterwards. But when we write as a developer, it is almost similar to HTML content, so it becomes easier for us. Next point is, it supports server-side rendering for SEO benefit. So what do I mean by server-side rendering? So this again is a like slightly bigger topic, that what client-side rendering is, what server-side rendering is. But if I have to say it in short, so server-side rendering is like, all of the content is assembled in the server and it is given to us in UI, and then UI has only job of showing it. So it is not like we are getting HTML file, we are getting css file, we are making dom, and then we are downloading the javascript files, and everything happens in UI, that is called as client side rendering. So React supports that also, but server side rendering is kind of advanced technology which we are seeing. So React supports that also, and it is helpful in search engine optimization. So SEO is nothing but search engine optimization. So search engine optimization is basically like your website will be in the top few results whenever you are searching your website. So if everything is already developed, right, if it is already assembled by server, it is just given to you to the UI just for the display purpose. This means that all the logic and all were already given. So when it comes in browser, it is having all the tag, all the information. So it is helpful for the engines, like the crawlers of the browser, to find them, and they rank your website in top results. Next is React follows unidirectional data flow, which means one-way data binding. So always the data is flowing from parent to the child component, which is helpful always to determine like from where the data is coming. It is also helpful in debugging. Next is React hooks. So React provides us with the multiple hooks so that it is easier for us to develop the application. Okay, next question is, what is JSX? So answer, you can say it as JSX. It is its full form is JavaScript XML. It is a syntax extension of JavaScript that looks similar to HTML. As I said in the previous slide also, it looks similar to HTML. There are minor changes, like very small changes, which you will observe, but it is almost similar to HTML. It allows writing HTML-like code inside the JavaScript file and gets transpiled to react.createElement calls. Okay, so whenever you're writing, you're developing any application in React, so you are able to type HTML like code in the JS or JSX file. So that is because it is nothing, it is not HTML, it is JSX. So you can answer like it is JavaScript XML. It allows us to write the HTML like code in JavaScript files. What is the next question? Next question is, how do you create component in React? Answer is, there are two ways. One is how to create the component in React. There are two types of component. One is functional component and one more is class component. So nowadays we don't use class component. Mostly all of the application in real world in any companies, whenever you see, it is always functional component. And few places where I've seen, few companies had class component, like few of the code bases, legacy code bases had class component, but then they are switching to functional based components only. So how do you create? You have to make like simple JS functions that returns the JSX. In class based components, you'll have to make use of react.component, and you'll have to use the render method. But in function component, you use the return method. Okay, and syntax wise, maybe we can have a practical video, since this is a interview question answer series, so I'm not including the code snippet, but yeah, definitely I'll make a video on this. Next is, what are pure components? Let us see what are pure components. This is like very important question. So pure component in React automatically implements a shallow comparison on props and state in should component update. So what do I mean by shallow comparison? See, whenever there are two components and the like parent component and the child component maybe, so if there is any change in the parent components, if it there is any meaningful change, then only it is okay for our child component to render. If there is no change in parent and there is some rendering happening, there is no props being changed, then child is not supposed to re-render, because it will add on to our the like it will not have good impact on our application, because there would be latency, some kind of latency, unnecessary re-rendering happening. So because of that, we have pure component. This means that there will be shallow comparison. If there is any change in props, then only child component will re-render, else it need not re-render. Okay, that is what it means. Should component update, is it required for child component to update? If it is not required, then there is no point. So in class based component, pure component we had like pure component, but in functional based component we do not have anything called pure component. If you want to make your component as pure component, then you will have to make use of react.memo. Okay, and like here it is written, application, it prevents unnecessary re-renders and it boosts the performance of our application. Now let us see what is the next question. What are state in React? So state is the internal data store object for a component that holds dynamic information affecting